What up, Josh Rubin from East West Healing Performance. Today I want to talk about the benefits of using Epsom salt baths. Now, of course, there's many reasons why we need magnesium in our diet. We need to talk about supplements first. I think there's a huge disconnect on health and what people think health really is. As well as practitioners, we have so many people trying to play doctor, trying to play naturopath, recommending tons of supplements based on labs, and we're not seeing people get better because we have to look at the person and actually think about, well, is the supplement they're giving them, are they using low-quality herbs or are they using high-quality herbs? Where are the herbs coming from? Are they being regulated by the FDA or are they coming from China? Are the herbs or the enzymes or whatever we're using with the people, are they plant-derived enzymes and things like that? The body is resistant, the GI system is resistant to most, if not all, plant enzymes. So we can't break them down, and they actually cause more bacterial overgrowths, a hyperadrenaline, hypercortisol stress response in the body. Same time, if you have a damaged metabolism, because you're hypothyroid, or in your hypercortisol state, or hyperadrenaline, hyperserotonin, and your body temperature is low, now because the body perceives some type of stress is going on, it diverts and wants safety and security first. It's not thinking about sustenance and sex and procreation. So it slows down all the digestive juices in the body, hydrochloric acid, pancreatic enzymes, all these different things that can lead to B12 deficiencies, leaky gut syndromes, lactate insufficiencies, or I should say lactose intolerance, all these different symptoms. But it's because of damaged metabolism, they can hardly break down food. You're giving them supplements that are even harder to break down that can actually feed this bacteria, lead to more pH disturbances in the GI system, lead to more hyperestrogen and hyperserotonin symptoms, thus overburdening the liver and overburdening the whole body. So we have to look at this and say, well, how can we give my client a supplement beside food? And the most important thing is using food as your supplement. So I want you to take away with this, yes, you can get actually magnesium from Epsom salt baths because you're absorbing it in your skin and you don't have to go through the GI system. But you can actually use food as well to get magnesium into the body. Now, we started using Epsom salt baths with people years ago that were in chronic pain, back pain, knee pain, things like that had chronic PMS, or with a lot of our athletes that we're rehabbing and they have to train for their sport like skateboarding, but also they're training with us. And we use them the days working out at night to actually help reduce inflammation in the body. So the first reason we use it is because it actually helps to reduce inflammation. Because magnesium actually synthesizes with progesterone. And the combination of what they do in the body is actually quite amazing. Progesterone actually inhibits the loss of magnesium when you're in a damaged hypermetabolism, hypercortisol state. So when the body's stressed or inflamed, your cells hold on to calcium and you lose magnesium. That can lead to heart murmurs, restless leg syndrome, tight muscles, things like that. So calcium displaces magnesium, and calcium is excitatory, and magnesium is very relaxing to the body. It actually reduces muscle contractions and helps to regulate blood sugar. So if we look at the relationship between progesterone and magnesium, they actually restrain blood clotting because they downregulate estrogen, which pulls water from the blood and thickens the blood and can increase blood clotting. It actually, that combination together can actually help sustain and regulate blood sugar in the body, and that's why we recommend people using Epsom salt baths prior to bed to help regulate blood sugar through the night so they don't wake up in a hypercortisol state or a hyperadrenaline state. Another reason is it downregulates histamine. Histamine is an inflammatory marker. A lot of times when you get a runny nose, a mucus in the mouth, things like that, that's a histamine reaction. And serotonin and estrogen usually stimulate that. So using Epsom salt baths, synthesizing with progesterone in the body when you get into this anti-inflammatory state, can actually downregulate the inflammatory cycle, not only in the gut, but in the body systemically. And salt itself is actually a natural antihistamine as well. It actually promotes glucagon to regulate blood sugar, to raise blood sugar when you're hyperglycemic state. Most people are hypoglycemic, and we see this all the time. Now, I'm not saying just based on my assumption they are, but everyone's getting these tests done and say, yeah, the test found I'm hypoglycemic. Well, just take your body temperature. That's going to tell you if you're hypoglycemic or not. It's that simple. It actually restrains insulin, which insulin in excess is actually inflammatory in the body. It actually can decrease vascular spasms and leakiness because it actually downregulates serotonin in the body. It can actually stabilize vascular tone, like I just talked about, because of bringing down that hyperestrogen, hypercortisol state and hyperserotonin state. It can actually stabilize nerve function because it actually creates a relaxation in the muscle and the central nervous system because it downregulates calcium and gets calcium out of the cell, which is highly excitatory. So let me look at some of my other notes so I can give you a rundown of why we want to use magnesium in these Epsom salt baths to actually benefit the body. Because we just talked about how it works with progesterone, but it's a part of energy production in the body. It's needed for relaxation of muscles, which is important prior to bed. As I mentioned, it's required for nerve transmission. It can actually be used to help reduce high blood pressure because it synthesizes with progesterone to downregulate estrogen, and estrogen actually stimulates cortisol independently of the hypothalamus and pituitary. It's actually needed for protein and carbohydrate metabolism in the body. As I mentioned, it's synthesized with progesterone, and this is probably the big thing, and this is why it's so important in the body to reduce inflammation as well as regulate blood sugar prior to going to bed. You can get it in bone broth. Beside Epsom salt baths, you can get it in, a high-quality homemade bone broth. You can get it in a lot of tropical fruits. You can get it from just sipping coffee throughout the day, especially after you eat, especially with the right macronutrient ratio of maybe a fat like cream and sugar, and sipping it throughout the day to get the necessary magnesium, which actually will prevent the reabsorption of iron in the stomach and help to reduce iron levels in the body, which are displacing copper. You can get it in certain meats. You can get it in dark chocolates, which we advocate, not in large amounts. Of course, clean dark chocolate. You can get it in squash and shellfish. Probably the most important would be your fruits, your coffee, your bone broth, and your Epsom salt baths. So what we do is we recommend most people, prior to going to bed, using an Epsom salt bath. And most people start with a cup. We want people to go big, because we find the more they use with the Epsom salt bath, the more benefit they get. So I tell people maybe start with like 2 or 3 cups, and then 30 minutes after you take your bath, make sure you take your temperature. It's going to be high because of the bath. You don't want to do it right after. See what your temperature is. See how you feel. See how you sleep. See how you wake up. What's your temperature when you wake up? If you're not noticing any benefit from 2 or 3 cups, go to 4 cups, go to 5 cups. Keep going until you find the amount that works for you. I have a client that actually uses 4 pounds, which is 1 box, 3 times a week, every time she takes a bath, to help reduce inflammation in her joints because she's an athlete. It helps with her PMS, so she uses it as needed. And it's the one very thing along with the nutrition plan that's really helped kind of take it home to help her sleep, regulate blood sugar during the night so she doesn't wake up and go into this hyperadrenaline state, but also wake up in an efficient kind of metabolic state with a normal body temperature, which sets the day for a perfect day in a sense. And she can back that up with the proper nutrition, proper ratios, and things like that. Now, one key point when you do this, anything hot, you ever go into a hot tub and you get nauseous? Anything hot like that can actually create a hyperadrenaline response, which is going to push you hyperglycemic. So what we recommend is when you do these Epsom salt baths, you always, like 4 ounces, you always want to sip on a glass of orange juice and maybe some Morton's pickling salt in there to downregulate the adrenaline response to keep you level so the bath can actually be facilitatory and not inhibitory. So thanks for tuning in, and I'm out of here.